All right, continue. Good evening. I'm waiting to see, make sure everyone gets in. Is that it? Yeah. Okay, we're good. So, as a preliminary matter, I need to confirm, Lydia Clancy, Chair of the Maynard School Committee, need to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me before I call this meeting to order. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mary Branley.
Here.
Jessica Clark.
Here.
FYI, Bethlyn Houlihan is not with us tonight. Natasha Rivera.
Here.
Lydia Clancy, here. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Colleen Andrade.
Here.
Jeff Ferranti.
Yes.
Jennifer Gaudet.
Here.
Ryan Haas.
Here.
Wayne White.
Here.
And anticipated guest speakers on the agenda. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Ann Rutherford.
Here.
And Julie Danforth.
Here.
All right, thank you.
Charles is also here. Sorry, Charles is
Oh,
also.
Charles Cabron.
Here.
All righty.
Rob Rouleau is here as well.
Jeff Ferranti.
Rob
Rob
Rouleau.
Rouleau.
Oh boy, everyone's just hanging out. Nice. This open meeting of the Maynard School Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature a citizens' comment period. For this meeting, the Maynard School Committee is convening by video conference via Zoom as posted on the district's website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and please take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Additionally, please let the chair know if you are recording or broadcasting this meeting. Prior to doing so, please raise your hand in the participants box if you are planning to record or broadcast this meeting. And it does not look like anyone has raised their hand, so Colleen will be the only one recording this meeting. Most of the supporting materials that have been provided for the members of this body are available on the Maynard Public Schools District website under School Committee Agendas, SC Agenda 2020-21. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Meeting ground rules. Before we go to the first item on the agenda, permit me to cover some ground rules for the effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, the chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide a comment, question, or motion. Members will have a second opportunity to speak once the chair has called on each member a first time. Please wait to be called on by the chair before speaking, and remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Always state your name before speaking. Please do not interrupt others when they are speaking. For any response, including discussions, please, between committee members, wait until the chair yields the floor to you, and please refrain from speaking when asked to do so by the chair. Bethlyn is not here tonight, so I will be timing each agenda segment. There will be a 2-minute warning, and then time will be called. If the chair sees fit, the discussion may be extended up to 5 minutes. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Citizens' comments. Any? Let's get that right. All right. Any citizen wishing to make a comment to be read during a virtual meeting and entered into the public record may do so by emailing comments to comments4scmeeting@maynard.k12.ma.us. Comments need to be emailed in advance and will be received up until the citizens' comments agenda item is addressed. Your email must include your first and last names and street address in order for it to be read. Emails without names and or addresses cannot be read. To ensure that your statement is read in its entirety, it is suggested that you limit it to approximately 350 words. Statements longer than 350 words may be cut short at the 3-minute mark in the interest of time, but will be submitted for public record regardless. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or 350 words to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. The chair will read only one statement from each citizen. However, citizens can submit any additional comments for the public record by providing a copy to the chair via email up until the end of the meeting, specifically stating their desire to have these additional comments included. Please be aware that the citizens' comments agenda item is a devoted time for the school committee to hear from the citizenry. As such, its structure primarily supports unidirectional public recording of citizens' comments rather than a bi-directional conversation. All right, so I call this meeting to order. I have my thing here, and roll call. Mary Branley,
Here.
Jessica Clark,
Here.
Natasha Rivera,
Yes.
Lydia Clancy. Yes. Okay, we're here. Let's start. To begin with, without objection, I would like to approve the minutes from December 17th, 2020. No objections. Okay, so approved.
Madam
Colleen,
Chair, I have
yes.
a question. Do we need to make note of the amended executive session that will be added at the end of the meeting?
We do, actually. I can do that now, just for everyone's information. And do we need to vote on that?
I would
Jen,
say maybe without
can you figure out that?
objection.
Do we need to vote on the fact that we have to add an executive session at the end of the meeting that was not posted ahead of time?
At the end of the meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was urgent business that came about, so it's good to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the specific rule, but just for safety's sake, I would.
Okay. And that has to happen now. I was going to do it during the chairperson's report, but do we have to do it now?
I'm having a really bad connection. Sorry, I'm having a really bad connection. I didn't hear.
I don't know that you have to do it now. I think it makes sense in terms of, I think it makes sense to do now. I also think it makes sense to do later. It's up to you.
Okay. I'll just do it now since we've broken. Okay, so we need to discuss something in executive session having to do with collective bargaining contract negotiations. So it's reason number 3 under Mass General Law, reasons for executive session. And so do I make a motion that we do that, or do I need to ask for a motion, Jen?
I think you can make a motion.
Okay, so I make a motion that we will adjourn to executive session after members' reports and comments, and we will not return to open session. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and roll call vote, Mary Branley,
Yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Natasha Rivera. Yeah.
Was discussion. It
Oh,
was for.
can we have a discussion? Does
It
anyone?
was just to add that it's for the MEA.
Okay.
Union specific, the reason to be included at the executive session.
Do we need to be union specific?
Yeah, you have to be when you note the reason that it's regarding what is as descriptive as possible without disclosing any information. So
Okay.
that's what we've done historically.
Okay. So did you want to vote?
Yes.
Okay. Lydia Clancy, yes. All right. So moved. And now we will get back to the acceptance of warrants. Colleen, I had a question. So when you put on the agenda that they had to go to town, were you talking about 036 and 037 or 038 and 039?
036 and 037 have the votes or signatures required and have gone to town.
They have gone to town, but 038 and 039 have not?
I don't believe so. That was sent today, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't even ask on that. It was after I had
Okay,
left the
so we'll do
office.
those next time. All right, so without objection, I would like to accept the warrants 21-036 and 21-037. No objections? Okay, they are accepted. Urgent business, no. Citizens' comments, yes. So let me go to that document. Dun, dun, dun. The first one we have is Holly Murray, 9.5 Maple Street. I'm writing to express my dissatisfaction with the number of live hours being provided at the 3rd grade level. When I heard that DESE had released new requirements for live teaching hours, I was hopeful that my 3rd grader would be able to benefit. By my calculations, she currently receives 12 hours of live instruction per week, totaling 24 hours in a 2-week time period. This is 11 hours under the 35-hour DESE requirement. This week, we received an email to announce that there would be 1 added special per week, totaling 1 hour of additional face time with a teacher. That was it. I don't believe that additional specials were at the heart of why DESE increased their live teaching hour requirement. 3rd graders already get 5 hours of specials in a 2-week time frame. These students need core curriculum education. The only core education my child receives is 1 hour on Monday and Tuesday, 30 minutes on Wednesday, and 3.5 hours on Thursday and Friday. I also have a 7th grader who gets 33 total hours of live instruction. Since the data reported to DESE is an average, then 7th grade will bring up the abysmal numbers from 3rd grade. But I have real doubt that the 35 hours reported to DESE are accurate. There are 63 districts reporting less hours than Maynard and 207 reporting more hours than Maynard. We are hardly middle of the pack. Please ensure that the requirements are being met for the sake of the students. Okay, and next I have Jessica Teague, 2 Whitney Ave. I am writing regarding the change to the Wednesday schedule at Green Meadow this week. I appreciate the addition of the morning meeting time. However, I am puzzled as to why the 30 minutes of asynchronous specials were added when they do not add to the state mandated live learning. It feels like busy work. I believe that 30 minutes would be better spent on core academics, particularly in the case of my daughter's class that usually has a live foundations lesson during that time. I would be interested to hear the logic behind this decision. And Heather Monero, 6 Marks Way. I'm writing with concern to the amount of live teaching that my child, who is in 5th grade in the remote class, is currently receiving. While I understand and appreciate logistical issues that may be present because of the current situation, I feel strongly that the amount of live teaching is insufficient to the proper learning and education level that these children should be getting. In addition, for their class, Wednesdays still remain asynchronous. I find that the work that is assigned is minimal and oftentimes is completed during the morning. I have concerns about the important foundation subjects for learning, such as math, English, history, and science. I feel that a priority should be placed on them rather than infiltrate our children's schedules with emails with 8 specials. At a time like this, while specials may be considered a much necessary break for some children from their core academic classes, I do find that having an excess of 8 is not necessary. I would suggest combining health and gym, combining Be Internet Awesome with computer class, and combining makerspace with art. I believe by doing this, it would make it much more manageable to allow for extra time to be placed on the core subjects. Thank you for your consideration. And let me just check and make sure nothing else has come in. All right, and that concludes citizens' comments. Just for those of you out there who did provide comments, and sorry, I'm having a problem with my screen. Just so you know, Brian will be addressing this topic in his superintendent's report, which is next. Brian's muted.
You unmuted me, thanks. I do appreciate that. So we could start with those comments, or we'll
You
start
start
with,
with whatever you want.
so we'll start with COVID, since that seems to be the topic of
Excuse
the
me.
year.
Sorry.
Numbers in Maynard are up high. They're probably higher than they've been, recently. The good news is those numbers don't translate to school. So we're happy to say that we do not see transmission in school, period. There are individual cases, but they're not beginning in school, and they're not being shared in school. So we like that. And as a result of that, we are reducing the number of days for quarantining. So this sort of the highest number that you can operate under is 14. There are some other options within what the CDC and what DESE has put out. And the middle option sort of ends at day 10. So you get tested sometime after day 5, 5, 6, 7, and then you can exit after day 10, so day 11. So it's a slight reduction, and both all of our school nurses and our Board of Health agent, we're all in favor of making that reduction at this point. And then we'll reevaluate again, in a few, we reevaluate every week, quite frankly. There's one layer lower that we could drop to, but we're not inclined to do that quite yet, given that the numbers are as high as they are outside of the schools. So that's good news. We want to get kids in as much as we can, and reducing the quarantining time chips away at that. It helps. Another update is the flu vaccine, which many of our families already got, and they followed the directions, and we are very appreciative of that. In their infinite wisdom, said that was a great idea, but the numbers are really low, probably because everyone's wearing a mask and they're staying home, that you now no longer have to have the flu shot. So if you didn't do that, there's no pressure from us to do that. We'll just leave that at that. That was them. There's a lot of actually good news, but we kind of shared it this time. So I'm going to leave some of the exciting school stuff to Mary, who's going to talk later about that, which is really the fun stuff. I'll talk about the stuff that's like, nobody really wants to talk about that, which is time on learning. And what does education look like this year? So let me start with, nobody thinks what we're doing is really the best of the best. And this year is overly effective. Going to school 2 days a week or 4 mornings a week doesn't compare to going to school 5 days a week for 6.5 hours and running a full schedule. There isn't anybody in the state that thinks that this is better than that. Most, if not all, the schedules were put in place and built in August, for the most part, in August, September, using all the information we had at the time concerning COVID, which was changing daily, weekly. And that's why we have the schedules we have, is because they were built and really predicated on, we needed cohorts, we needed separate days for cohort A and cohort B, we needed minimum numbers of kids in the building, we needed 6 feet of physical distancing, and to wear masks. Time has, and let's be honest, everybody thought schools were going to be super spreaders. That was kind of the mantra back then. So most schools, like us, built schedules, and we took all that into account, and we said, okay, let's separate the kids, let's build cohorts, let's build cleaning in the middle of the week. It's worked. There is no transmission in schools. So in some sense, that schedule does work for the health and safety of our staff and students and families. What we're realizing, given several months' time and data, is that schools aren't mass spreaders, thankfully. The mask wearing, the 6 feet physical distancing, given everything we've heard, everything we've learned from our nurses, from boards of health, from CDC, from DPH, from DESE, those things are key, and they really do work. Cohorting is kind of up in the air. Right now, we're looking at, could we separate those? Does it have to stay? So to the parent comments, and they're great comments, they're great questions. Many of them have emailed already directly, and there's been lots of conversation. And really, we spend a good portion of every waking day trying to figure out, how do we get kids in the building for more time or for more days, but at the end of it, it's more time within the week, and abide by the changing requirements from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So our goal is the same as yours, is what I would say. And at some point I'll stop talking and I'll let Jennifer pipe in as well, because she's equally well-versed, if not more so in this than I am. But this is what we spend our time doing. Our principals are hard at work on this at all levels, really trying to figure out. We had multiple conversations today for hours on, well, could we do this? Could we do that? How do we get more kids into the building for a longer time? Because we agree with you. We want more education for them. There's no question about it. It's the task of figuring out how to do that and maintain the safety protocols that we've had in place that have clearly worked. So you will see changes in beginning of next month in terms of getting more students in for more time. It won't be everybody at once. And I'll be the first one to, I'd love to say everybody come back and wear a mask and everybody's gonna be happy. That's not gonna happen right away. We're gonna transition more kids in at each level slowly, but you will see more and more kids coming in. So stay tuned for that. That's what I have for you tonight.
All right. Did you want Jennifer to speak to that tonight? You had mentioned, Jennifer, I didn't know if you had planned something or not.
We did not plan anything, but if she wants to add anything, she's welcome to add. And if she thinks the topic's covered, she's welcome to watch and smile.
I think the piece, just to emphasize, is that we are looking to bring more students in. As of right now, that the medical experts that we rely on to make sure that we are making healthy and safe decisions for your students and for our faculty is that the 6 feet of distancing is one of the prevention measures that we need to maintain. And as folks may recall from when we discussed what kind of hybrid model we would have at the beginning when this was happening in July and August, in order to maintain 6 feet of distancing, we do need to limit the number of students in the building. We're not able to open at full capacity in order to do that. But we continue to look at, again, ways of bringing students in. We will be doing some of that. And will continue to ask the questions, the hard questions of our medical experts to say, okay, when will it be safe for us to reduce the distancing and how we can bring all of our students in? You know, I think everyone within the district would love nothing more than just to have all of our kids back in a normal situation. But we want to do it in a way that's safe for our students and safe for our families and safe for our staff. So we will continue to do that.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Questions or comments? Jessica?
Yeah, can you speak to, because what I'm hearing more from the community and from these citizen comments in general is not about bringing kids back, but about the short term, how are we giving them more live instruction when they're home versus just like a choice board where it's a pre-recorded special. So what is the short term before we can bring all these kids back? How are we adding more core content with live teaching from the gen ed teacher via small groups?
So right now, our focus is really on bringing them back into the building.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think with the students in grades 4 through 12, because they are streaming in, you know, the primary teacher is able to do that instruction with the streaming. We still don't believe that developmentally it would be appropriate to have elementary school students streaming in for, you know, for the length of the day. So what we are doing at the elementary level is we are working on setting up small groups of instruction where a student will be working through some of those activities, some of those lessons, those practice moments with a staff member who can support them in a small group rather than in a whole class of 20 students. So those are things we're working to set up with the new time on learning regulations. We needed to pivot a little bit to focusing on the Wednesday and making some changes there. But those are the changes that we're anticipating seeing, as we mentioned at the last meeting, that every student will have at least a half an hour additional of small group instruction on their remote days that they currently don't have. And I do want to point out that, yes, we are seeing and hearing from the families that are asking for additional time in terms of live time. We are also hearing from families that are saying that the additional special, that the specials on the remote days are providing too much live time, in essence, that it's challenging to manage. So we're really trying to thread that needle to get the just right amount. But one of the things that we will be able to do, especially for folks who are not benefiting and students who we're seeing are not benefiting from that remote time on those remote days, if we can bring them into the building and provide more face-to-face support, then that's going to be an important piece for us.
Thank you. Natasha?
Yeah, thank you. So I know that when the learning time was shared with us, it wasn't something that I think the community had the opportunity to hear firsthand because it wasn't a separate agenda item. And I don't think we obviously ourselves, we got the information because I know it was kind of an evolving piece. I would want to see when this plan rolls out, if we could ensure that we have an opportunity to see whatever the schedules that you're anticipating for each school, what they might look like, and that the community has some awareness with the agenda packet so they can see and be able to understand what is being talked about and maybe even participate to share comments at that time. Because it is kind of critical. And one of the things that we kind of have heard a lot of feedback on, which I don't know if this is part of the conversations at the building level, is just the specials in general, the number of specials we're seeing at Fowler. And I don't know if because parents are seeing their kids more at home and just the difficulties and the transitions with the so many. I just hope that that's one of the components of those conversations, because it seems to be a common theme throughout this year about how kids are managing that, and whether it's live or asynchronous, generally just overall a challenge. And I think from a social emotional perspective, it's challenge, executive function. It's a lot of pieces that I think have been just really difficult to overcome. And the other question I had, actually, well, that was more of a comment. My question for you was, is it possible that, Brian, you mentioned about the change at the beginning of next month, that we're going to transition more. Is there a tentative timeline that you would be comfortable sharing with the community at some point soon? I just want to make sure parents who maybe have work needs are able to anticipate changes themselves and planning where it's gives them lead time to start having conversations if they need caregivers or someone to pick up their kids from school or whatever. I don't know how much time is being built into that for them, for notice for the families.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be sharing information next week.
Next week. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right.
Mary?
Yeah, it was more of a logistical question. If we're talking about bringing more students in, but we still have to maintain that 6-foot separation. I know in July and August, an awful lot of time went into figuring out room by room, how many students was the max.
Mhm.
How are we going to do that with space and with, I mean, the teachers, the staff is so stretched thin that how are we going to logistically do that?
Yeah, great question. So one of the things that has happened over time is that a lot of families have opted for remote. So there are, and this is true definitely at the high school, middle school, some, and a little bit at the elementary school, but there's room in many classrooms that we can add students and still maintain that distancing. And we've also found that like Fowler, for example, right now, they have a classroom where kids are in, that's not their regular classroom. So another room, still maintaining that distancing, wearing masks, and they're at school.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Okay. And I just have a quick question. So we were supposed to start or meet DESE's new requirements by the 19th, right? So we started the 20th. So are we in fact meeting those new requirements with what we have in place? I just want to verify that that's what's happening.
So for the most part, yes. We need for the elementary, the Green Meadow School for this past week, it was an asynchronous special, which will be changed to a synchronous special.
Okay.
So that will be a change that folks will see, and we'll be communicating that. And there'll be some additional pieces of that. And that just has to do with, changing the program as you're implementing it, right? some mistakes get made. So we are making those changes. The teachers and paraprofessionals and administrators are working hard on those. But as Mr. Haas said, we are looking at all of the aspects of our programming so that we can continue to try and meet the needs of our students, both generally speaking, so that we can bring as many folks in and address the specials and address the concerns, but then for each individual student as well, identifying students for whom remote learning is not being successful and how we can mitigate that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you all very much. And now we are moving on to chair report, which I have somewhere. I thought, maybe not. So basically, there are a couple things. Select board meeting report. They started to have a meeting, but they last week, but they scheduled it at the same time, I think, as the planning board meeting. So when the select board people started logging on, the planning board was getting kicked off their meeting. They were using the same link, and so we had to postpone. So, or they had to postpone. So there's nothing to report for select board. We need to appoint someone as a rep to the master plan implementation committee, and that is going to probably just be a monthly meeting. And basically it's just to ensure that each department is working toward the master plan's vision, so that whatever the schools promised they were going to do for the master plan, we're actually including it in our strategic planning and our goals each year, and same for all the other departments. Bethlyn is not here tonight, although I'm pretty sure she's not interested. So do any of you have any interest?
Are you going to go around asking folks independently, or do you want to just have it a free for all?
Mary?
I'm just a little nervous as to, I don't know when the Green Meadow feasibility study is going
Right.
to start up, and so I'm a little concerned about over committing.
Yep. No.
If absolutely nobody else wants to do it and it's just once a month, I could potentially do it. Plus the policy meetings should start getting less and less. I'm thinking.
Right. Oh yeah, no, policy is definitely gonna dwindle down.
You keep saying that.
Well, but the goal was for February 15th. We're not there yet.
No. Anyway,
Okay.
so
Jessica Clark?
I'm in the same boat as Mary. If nobody else will do it, I will
Okay.
step up, but capacity, I just, between this and work and
Okay.
children and being a full-time teacher, a stay-at-home mom,
Yeah.
right, we have a full-time career, full-time job, teacher, yeah.
Nope, that's fine. All right, Natasha?
So aren't there two committees that we need? Maybe
There
let's.
are. Yep.
Okay, so maybe we should have a conversation about that. They both two things, and then what the time commitment might be, because I don't think the master plan had a lot of school specific stuff. So
No, it doesn't. And that probably will have, I think, less. It has less of a monthly time commitment, but it may be a longer
right.
process than the town charter review, which would possibly be more time per month, but will only be, I think they said like 4 to 6 months at the most.
I thought they said a year. I don't know, something about they met.
Here,
I think they said they met up to a year. It was a lot of reading.
Okay.
Yeah, Jennifer's. Yeah, she probably was on the last one, possibly.
Oh, were you in it? You were. Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit more and like
Make it sound exciting so you get people volunteering.
Yeah.
It was absolutely lovely. I think Brooke, who's on the call tonight, was on it as well. I believe so. Anywho, so essentially you read through the elements of the town charter and identify places where things may need to be tweaked or changed. It is a lot of sort of, I don't want to say legally is because it has more to do with like legislative language and stuff like that, but it is a lot of reading to parse out and make sure that what is stated in the document is clear in terms of its intention for the execution for for the next group of folks coming in. So yeah, it is a lot of really detail oriented specific work. Honestly couldn't tell you how long ours was, how many months, but it was a lot of meetings. But again, for someone who likes, is a policy wonk or appreciates those sort of conversations, it's a fun time.
Well then, it sounds like it's something I should be doing.
Well, I wonder if it would be helpful. So it sounds like, I mean, like the master plan, a lot of it is also tied to money. And I think from a school perspective, I just want to make sure I word this correctly. There's probably not going to be a lot of leeway and flexibility on a lot of new things, expanding in the next year or two, potentially, right away. I think building it in, but I don't see, it's more long-term planning possibly, as it relates to the town. And so I don't know if that would makes it easier for folks who have less time commitment or maybe even if we could partner up, like could two people share where one or the other, or is that not?
Yeah, I think that complicates matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it does.
I also, do we know when the charter review, when does it start?
I don't know.
But when this year? Because
Mary, do you know?
No, it just said that every 10 years and 2021 was the year. Sorry. I don't know.
Anything with a 1, it starts with a 1. I mean, I might be, okay, so I will say I might be able to do that one. It sounds like something that kind of interests me a little bit. I kind of like to get in the minutia of certain reading things, and but I just want to get a better understanding of when they start with that. If it's like after tax season would be ideal for me.
Oh, right. Yep.
Just because, and also we have other like ongoing like negotiation stuff that are ticking up a bit. So, but I would say that would be I would do that one if no one is vying for that with envy.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I will get more information on that. I will also ask Bethlyn if she has any interest in the master plan implementation committee. But
I think her spouse maybe was on that committee, so she may have some. I don't want to but I thought he was part of that, so she might have some information or insight or into that.
I'll ask her.
Other question to think about is that is it have to be someone who participates who's a current member on it? Because as we're thinking about like how long these are, just
It has
like
to be a correct member, I believe.
So it depending on who on it, if their terms are ending and there's changeover, there might need to be that to consider as well.
I will ask Jen. Do you know?
I would imagine it needs to be a current member. However, if someone were to end their term or to be voted off at the end of their term, then you would just reappoint someone to that committee.
Yep.
And so we could maybe the new person just like, it's exciting, new stuff,
Yeah. Okay. So we will table that. No decision yet tonight. And then the last point of business I had was we have a joint meeting with Finance Committee Monday at 7 p.m. It is not mandatory that everyone be there. I expect that Bethlyn probably won't be. Wayne, Brian, and I think Mary and Natasha will definitely be there. So Jessica, if you want to be there, you're welcome, but don't feel like you have to.
Post it just so that everybody can talk, or is the idea that just
it's already posted. It's all taken care of. We got it. Yep. So yes, so nobody has to sit quiet in the corner this time.
Good.
And that is all I have. So Now we move on to other business, and we have an SEL presentation. And for those of you who don't know what SEL is, social emotional learning. And the presentation, oh, Colleen, can you unmute Anne and Julie, please? So Anne and Julie, thank you very much for being here tonight and providing us with some information and insight into what you guys are doing during this really trying period of COVID education, or education in times of COVID. I will let you, is Colleen, are you sharing the screen? Okay, all right. So I will let you take it away.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
going to
you.
start to introduce Anne.
Oh,
and-
Charles, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were part of this.
That's okay. I want to introduce Anne Rutherford and Julie Danforth. I just want to say that several of us on the screen were busy this morning at 7 a.m. at our wellness meeting, our district wellness committee. And the first goal of that committee has been to promote programs that will address social emotional learning. And it also talks about enhancing guidance and school counseling services. And we're so fortunate to have outstanding school guidance counselors, let me tell you. I love being at Green Meadow where I am, and we are doing quite a bit on social emotional learning, as we are doing throughout the district. One thing that we could do better, however, is to showcase all that we are doing. Lots of times people don't know exactly what's going on. I want to say at Green Meadow, atmosphere, even with the pandemic, is a wonderful atmosphere for students and also for those of us who work there. Social emotional learning has elements of this term that's used quite a bit, but it means social awareness, self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills. And the building relationship skills has been really wonderful at Green Meadow under the leadership of Rob Rouleau, our principal, and the many people who work at the school. One quick example I'll give you is that over the winter break, our art teacher, Susan Arsley, and our library teacher, Sarah Paisner, came in and decorated the windows with a wonderful, bright winter, beautifully decorated and cheerful. So when I walk in every day, it's just uplifting to see that. So we have much to showcase. So without further ado, I do want to introduce Anne and Julie, who have, and Rutherford and Julie who have a PowerPoint to show you.
Thanks, Charles. So we'll go as soon as.
Oh, great. Great.
So my name is Ann Rutherford, and I'm one of the two counselors at Green Meadow. I am the school adjustment counselor at Green Meadow.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Danforth, and I am the other counselor at Green Meadow, Ann's counterpart. And I'm really pleased that you invited us here tonight because I love what I do. And Charles is right. Like, it's hard sometimes to have people see all the pieces that are kind of being put together. So Anne and I are pretty excited tonight that we can share some of the things that we're working on. And before we do tell you what's going on at Green Meadow, we thought it might make sense to sort of define what social emotional learning is for you in case you're not aware, and to tell you what some of the benefits of that teaching are. So what is social emotional learning? If you look at the slide, you're going to see a pretty lengthy definition that I'll give you a minute to read in a second. It's been put out by CASEL, which is the Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning. And they, about 25 years ago, brought the term social emotional learning to education. And if you want to just take a minute and read that definition, and then I'll build upon it in a second. So it may be for some that the easiest way to sort of interpret what it is to look at the graphic to the left. I know that suits me best. And the graphic at the left is really what Charles was referring to. The inner circle where the colors are the 5 competencies related to self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and then the responsible decision-making and or problem solving. So those are the 5 competencies that I actually teach to in my lessons when I go into the classrooms and create my lessons off of that. It's sort of like a scaffolding for us. SEL is an integral part of education and human development. It is something that is good for both children and adults alike. And it is not a practice, it is a practice, it is not a program. So a lot of people think that social emotional learning is, here's a curriculum, someone needs to go teach it, and we are done. It's actually quite the opposite. There's a social emotional learning lab that does a lot of research at Harvard, and they call the sort of the methodology of social emotional learning as infusing kernels. This is the word that they use, kernels of SEL throughout the day, so that it's ingrained in the culture. It's not just Anne or myself teaching lessons or doing counseling. It's coaching teachers on language to use. It's the environment in the building. It's the windows, that Charles was just referring to. So it's pretty comprehensive. And we just sort of want that to be one of the takeaways today from our presentation.
So I'll talk a little bit about the benefits of social emotional learning. And there's numerous ones, and these are just a few of the benefits. One piece, of course, is the empowerments of both adults and students with, what we like to call a social emotional learning toolbox. So they really, aren't always reaching for the same tool. They have a variety of tools to draw upon. SEL benefits academic achievement, because it promotes connection and belonging in school, and in turn, it does reduce anxiety and behavior concerns. And in turn, you're going to see an improvement in attitudes and beliefs about yourself, about others in school. And really, one of the things that Julie and I love the most is the common language it provides us and staff and students as we talk about these things, so that we are on the same page and not using different terminology.
So now we're going to sort of get into the nuts and bolts of what some of the things are at Green Meadow, some of the supports are with regard to SEL. And this first slide here is the SEL tools for students that you might see if you were in the building. The first piece of that is the guidance lessons that I teach in all the classrooms. They are weekly lessons, and the beauty of it is it's sort of a coaching model. So when I go into the classrooms, the teachers don't leave, the paraprofessionals don't leave. They stay around. They're often on the rug with us. They are participating in activities and games and breathing exercises and the books that I read. It's probably one of my favorite pieces is having that participation. Much of what the lessons are based on is obviously the 5 competencies, but I pull a lot from a curriculum called social thinking. It's something Anne and I have been trained in, and it's where we pull a lot of our language from that we share with the teachers and the kids. I also wanted to share, I don't know, is this something everybody can see if I hold this up? I'm not sure if my face is available to all. But this is a foundation that I build upon for the kids and the teachers. It's just sort of a model that explains the importance of connecting thoughts and feelings and actions. So many of my lessons draw upon those 3 and how they relate.
Sure.
Some of the topics of the lessons have to do with expected behavior, kindness, empathy, perspective taking, friendship skills, identity and differences, whole body listening, flexible thinking, growth mindset. It sort of runs the gamut. And again, they all kind of go back to those 5 competencies. And then we have Lunch Bunch. And I was going to ask Anne if she might want to talk about that, because she's sort of the pro, the Lunch Bunch pro.
Sure. Yeah, I do the Lunch Bunches at Green Meadow, and that's a small group counseling support for students in all grades. It's 8 weeks at a time. So I have an opportunity to provide lunch bunches to a variety of students throughout the year in all the grades. And it of course existed in person previously. Now we've found how to adapt it to exist remotely. And like Julie said, it also draws upon the social thinking research and terminology. And there is definitely some overlap with what Julie does in her guidance lessons, but I like to think of it as a chance to have multiple exposures to this really valuable terminology and guidance. In general, though, I should say Lunch Bunch is really designed for students who could use some help building peer relationships and or acquiring some more social skills.
And excuse me, and then the third prong of what we're doing to support SEL for students is something we're very excited about. We use a lot of picture books when we work with kids, both in Lunch Bunch and in the guidance lessons. And I end up having teachers asking, we both do, asking us, can I borrow this book? Can I borrow that book? And so we've just decided, well, let's go for it and let's stock the library with all of our favorite SEL books. So the one that you see on the screen is one of our favorites. This is sort of like the sequel to it, when Sophie's feelings are really, really hurt. Alpha Breaths is another book that I use. It's about different letters in the alphabet, and each one has a cute little breath that goes along with it. These are all books that we're sort of requesting to be put in the library. Jabari Tries is about sort of resilience. Jabari Jumps is about going out of your comfort zone. I love this one. This one is We Don't Eat Our Classmates, which has a lot to do with expected behavior. And then this one I just got, it's called Inside Outside, and I can't wait to read it. It's about the pandemic, and it's about how our behavior has changed since we've not been able to be outside with others as much as we are used to doing. So this is pending. I mean, we're still sort of working on it. The admin is really supportive of this, and we think we have the funding all in place for that, and we just need to sort of get the order in. So we're really excited about that.
So I want to talk a little bit about some of the social emotional learning tools for teachers to support students, because as Julie said, it's not just about her and I, providing this information to students. Is about teachers learning about it too and generalizing it to the students. So one thing that we love to do is provide visuals. I know Julie will often, after her guidance lesson, she will leave visuals with teachers to post in their classroom, for example, breathing strategies. A few years ago, I don't know if everyone could see me, I have, I'm going to talk about these a little bit later, but these are called the zones of regulation. And so I made these for the classrooms and laminated them. And so this is another visual that we like to see all over the school. Tools to Try is actually a brand new, actually, Julie, do you want to talk about Tools to Try?
Yeah, sure. Tools to Try is actually connected to the zones of regulation. It's a deck of cards. It's got about 50 cards in it. And there's 5 different categories of cards. It's think it, move it, feel it, do it, and connect. And it's as simple, it's a playing card. And we're going to put these in the teachers' mailboxes next week. We've ordered these cards for each classroom teacher. This one is called Stretch It Out. So all the teacher would do is, pull this out of her deck for kids who maybe are wiggly and need to move, and just read to the class the directions that are on the back. And it takes probably 60 seconds, but it's a strategy that will allow the kids to self-regulate and get back into the green zone, which is when they're ready to learn. So it hasn't been used yet, but we're really excited to be able to offer it to the teachers, and I'm getting a lot of excitement back from them. They've been emailing me and saying, when is it showing up? I can't wait. So I'm going to deliver them next week.
Great. Teachers often use Go Noodle too. As a movement break between lessons, or it can even take the form of mindfulness or meditation, a way to help kids kind of reset their minds and get ready for the next material they'll be covering. Green Meadow was years ago trained as a responsive classroom school, and we still do morning meetings. So this is a chance for the teachers and the students to meet every day and, really build community through those meetings. As I was just mentioning previously, zones of regulation, you can see that visual on the left, or maybe you can see the ones that I'm holding up. I'm constantly coming back to the students. It's often my first question for them, what zone are you in? It's a nice chance for them to pause and reflect, and it can really shift them from having a more reactive mindset to more of a responsive mindset. And then we have these weekly social emotional learning emails that go out, and a social emotional learning website, which kind of segues into the next slide. So I'll let Julie take it off from here.
Okay, so the weekly SEL tips emails go out to teachers and paraprofessionals. And then there's also a version that gets sent out to parents. So it may be that for the teachers, there is a tip about, I don't know, a specific relaxation skill that they might want to try in the classroom, or an activity for them that they might want to try in morning meeting. And we have about maybe 30 in the collection now, and we just sort of add one each week. So that's been fun and well received. And so the parent version of that is similar in nature, but more adapted to what might be going on at home. So we might send a little blurb about, mirroring, like how to model regulated moods at home, how to sort of check yourself as a parent so that it impacts your child at home. Or if your child is having a hard time self-regulating, here's some instructions on how to create a coping skills box that might have putty in it, or favorite items to calm down, or their favorite book, just sort of like a go-to strategy for them to have at home. So that's both of those, they sort of run in tandem, but they're tweaked a little bit according to the audience. And then the website came about in March because we went home and I had, just not the same way to reach people, teachers, parents, and students alike. And so out of that frustration and out of something that could have been totally negative came this website. And it's pretty comprehensive. It has, what is SEL? It has a page on that, a page for students, a page for teachers, a page for parents, and then a page of favorite books, favorite read alouds, favorite videos, and then a page that's fun activities to explore that families can do at home. So I'm adding to it. We're adding to it on a regular basis, and I'm sort of directing teachers to it for tips, and also promoting it with parents. So it's been helpful.
And yeah, just one thing more thing to mention. Julie, do you want to speak about Katie Perry?
Thank you. Yes, the Katie Perry, who's our BCBA at Green Meadows, she does a great job of helping not only our students, but our families as well. And she has increased her support with families who are of need of extra strategies with regard to behavior management at home, because the kids are at home more. And so she's allowing for greater consultation now, which has also been a positive. Thank you, Anne, for that reminder.
Sure. So ready for the next slide. And Julie and I talked a lot at the beginning of the school year about the teachers and just how stressed out they were. And I shouldn't say just teachers, I should say teachers, paras, all the staff. It was such an overwhelming time to come back to school, and we were trying to think of how can we support everybody. And so a few things we've done is we've started a staff buddies program where we have paired, staff who volunteer to take part with each other to provide them some increased support. And then also we've started sending out these what we call Wellness Wednesday newsletters once a week with kind of just 3 curated wellness tips that Julie and I have been collecting in like our research and our reading. And we've gotten some really nice feedback from people about how much they appreciate some of the guidance that they've received from that.
So we hope you have a bit of a picture now of some of the great things SEL related that are going on at Green Meadow. And if we look forward to what some of our hopes are, one thing would be to continue to empower and support teachers, because as we said, SEL is really not about me and Anne. It's not about what we can directly deliver, but about the culture and everyone's participation in it. Secondly, we really want to find more ways to engage parents, because again, the common language and the strategies only will, work their best if it's sort of a joint approach. And then thirdly, to continue to create a common SEL vocabulary and toolbox of tools for all students.
And that's the end of our presentation.
Thank you. This is wonderful.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're almost out of time, but I'm going to extend it by 5 minutes so that the school committee members can ask questions. I'll start with Mary.
Thank you, Ann and Julie. It was amazing. As Charles said this morning, we had a wellness committee meeting, and that is obviously one of the very big topics that has been coming up, that continues to come up. So my question is, you're creating an incredible foundation at Green Meadow. How is that getting pushed up to the middle and to the high school so that those teachers have the same continuity and can carry the same message and the same toolbox, and that obviously, more mature, but has that been talked about at all? Because you are creating such a great foundation.
I can answer that. We're definitely, we are doing incredible things at all 3 schools. Tonight, we wanted to showcase Green Meadow. The guidance counselors, I should say school counselors, because they're adjustment counselors, and sometimes but the counselors have a chance to meet together. As Ann said, and Julie said, it's a program that involves everyone, and there are a number of things that are going on. Also at the high school there are that. So, and I'm with Jeff Ferranti, who is in charge of student support, student services. We're really, we're really working on that K-12. So there's not as much communication as we'd like to have, but we're working on that for more time for meetings in between the schools and the grade levels.
Thanks, Charles.
Jeff, I don't know if you wanted to add to that. Oh, he has to be unmuted. Colleen, Can you unmute Jeff?
No, I've been at this for close to 30 years, and this counseling group, not just at Green Meadows, but at Fowler and at the high school, they are top notch. And I was trying to encourage the Fowler and the high school group that, Ann and Julie are putting a presentation, and there's so much good work that they're doing that hopefully in a future school committee agenda, they'll have their place to share what they're doing as well.
And we're going to do a wellness report sometime in March, and we can include that, Mary, okay, so that there'll be more of what's going on too at those 2 schools. Wonderful things. We just haven't showcased them as much.
Great, thank you. Okay, Jessica?
Yes, thank you so much. That was great. Fabulous presentation. Where can parents find the SEL website? Is there a link on the school website, or what's the best way to go about getting that?
Yes.
It's
the short
you
answer.
can't miss it.
It is. It's right on. I think it's on the main page of the
right.
Maynard Public Schools, and it's also on the Green Meadow page.
And
Yes,
then I
spread the
don't
word.
Rob is in here. Yeah, I see Rob on here, but
Yeah.
maybe that would be a great, since we're talking about it tonight, to include that in the just a link and a reminder, a little blurb about the fact that it's there on his weekly newsletter. Just
Excellent suggestion. We will do that. We will do that.
That would be great.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. We really appreciate everything you guys do. So.
Thanks, Jessica. Natasha?
Just to echo the praises, dealt with my own instances where Ann and Julie have supported my family personally, and I can tell you the impact is wonderful there. So I know that there's a lot of hard work by many people there. One comment, I was listening to the book Outside, Inside, and I sounded like that something that is being looked at to get to the library. Is that something that could be made available, or a similar book that would be made available in every class? I'm just thinking about when the kids go back, that after the pandemic, if that's what I heard correctly, it's related specifically to the pandemic, that there might be some of those social emotional needs for kids to just kind of process in every classroom. And I don't know if there's other books that might be more age appropriate that might help through, or have conversations for the teachers to support the kids. So if there's
excellent suggestion. Yeah, excellent.
And then the other thing is just in thinking about the SEL toolbox or tools for students. And it was talked about how to bridge a partnership better with home and school. are there opportunities for any type of digital tools or resources that might be able to help with that? I mean, we've kind of, accelerated our digital use, and I don't know if they have any tools, because I think that people have gotten a little bit more used to them. Teachers have, families have, and I know that some of that language that you're talking about, getting common language, all of that, I just think that if there's maybe a digital opportunity, possibly to explore,
Yeah. I think
that would
that's
be.
Natasha, that's an excellent suggestion. And Dr. Adam Steiner, who is our Director of Technology, he's been wonderful. So that is something we could talk to him about for something to pay some great attention
Yeah,
to.
I mean, obviously, I'm sure that things cost money, but
we'll worry about the money later.
Yeah, no,
Excuse me.
I've heard a couple of them. I think Empatico, I don't know. There's a couple of them out there that I think that might help foster that. I think it's such an important component that everyone is kind of on the same page for the desired outcome for their kids. And then just to Mary's point, I would certainly love to see alignment in language and social emotional as the kids transition from building to building there. Thank you all very much.
Okay. All right, that's time.
Oh, I thought it was like spa music.
Yeah, no, that's my alarm. Yes, Mary?
For a suggestion. So have you guys thought about doing a book drive? Because I got to tell you, I bet if you put out these books that you're looking for to enhance the library, everybody would.
That was going to be my question is,
because especially at the younger, I mean, I would do it, and I don't even have a kid in the school system. So I would strongly recommend, maybe Rob can put that out there.
Sure.
I know years ago we did a book drive to enhance the Green Meadow Elementary School. This was years ago. And it was amazing how many people came forward. At that time, we had them dedicated, it was dedicated to somebody in that, but yeah, it would just be a thought.
Great suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I have a lot of the books that just from when my daughter was at Green Meadow and stuff that, and I don't know, you probably remember Maya, but, stuff that was really, really helpful that she doesn't look at anymore. And, it would be, she's grown out of it, and I could certainly donate a lot of that stuff too. So,
But even new books, I'm thinking new books also. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, like if there's a couple of books that the team identified that we could say, look, we'd like to fund, this many of these books for the school, and kind of do some type of parent outreach drive that. Lydia, I had one more question. Is that okay? Sorry.
I guess so.
Okay, sorry. I didn't want to just, okay.
Can we answer it?
Well, no, just thinking about we're in budget, so I'm trying to, multiple hats that we're thinking about. I just was curious for the team on what they consider their biggest need for social emotional supports at Green Meadow. If they had a wish list, what would be their most dire thing that they would really feel it would be most impactful to help our students, especially coming off of COVID?
That's a great question. I think we'd probably have to take a little bit of time to talk together. Actually, the principals just sent an invite for a meeting next week for the counselors to meet with them to start talking about some more SEL initiatives. So, I'd really have to brainstorm with others before I could really answer that question well.
Yeah. If there's any information that could be fed up to us, that would be great at some point. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Julie, thank you so much for being here and for presenting. This was great. This was really, really awesome. I know that I've seen a lot of it before, but you guys have expanded it quite a bit since my daughter was in 3rd grade. So this is really exciting to see, and I'm very pleased that the kids are getting so much support and that parents are being engaged and teachers. So thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. And you are welcome to stay, but do not feel that you have to, because we're now.
This was my first meeting. You guys cover a lot of ground. Holy cow.
Julie, I would go policies.
Bye, bye.
Well, we're voting on the calendar. We're voting on,
Okay, so that's good. Yeah, that might be.
they might want to stay for school calendar, but I don't know. All right. Thank you.
so much, ladies.
Thank you.
And Charles and Rob, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Charles and Rob. All right, next, school calendar. We need to approve the start and end dates. School teachers would begin August 30th, and then students' first day would be September 1st. And the last day, the 180th day of school, if we don't have any emergencies or snow days or whatnot, would be June 15th. Oh, wait.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yep. And then the 185th day of school would be June 22nd. So are there any questions?
Should we make a motion first?
Yeah, sure. Do it.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the 2021 to 2022 Maynard Public Schools calendar with the staff starting on August 30th. First day for the students is September 1st. Last day, or the last day, as long as we don't have snow days, 180th day is June 15th. I guess that's all we have to vote on.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay. Discussion. Questions?
Are you gonna go? Oh, I thought you were gonna call people.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. Mary,
Nope.
question? Jessica,
No, no questions.
Natasha?
I did have a couple of questions about, do we think that the start date, I know that's what we've typically done, is that, do we think that because of coming off of where we are, that there might be extra transitional times to build in there for students that will be needed, aside from just everybody coming back on, in a large group? I don't know if that is a conversation to break it up a little bit more, just also for staff too. I imagine it's going to be a big adjustment from coming from potentially, not having, and then everyone's in the buildings on those days. So I didn't know if there was discussion on that, or we're just going to try to mirror what we've normally done every year.
When you say transition period, are you talking about actual school days, or are you talking about sort of just like a re-entry, acquainting sort of?
Well, it could be maybe not a school day, if maybe leading up to that, like a transition for kids to kind of, and staff to be more reacclimated instead of just all at once coming in those days, which has been our normal.
That would have contractual implications. Jennifer,
I don't know if we're starting, or I'm just saying it might impact the start date. So that's why I was asking.
oh, thank you. Jennifer, yes?
So you are correct that there would be contractual implications in terms of the 180 days and the number of days that we would be able to offer. However, we are having discussions about ways that we might be able to transition even within that contractual timeframe, so that maybe we can use some of the remote learning or some other pieces. And please, these are very, very high level discussions at this point that have not filtered down through any sort of planning processes, but we are talking about ways that we might be able to take advantage of some of our remote resources to be able to have different groups coming in at different times.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. And let's see, I guess, are we voting on right now just the days, not the actual calendar itself, or?
The start date and the end date.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was really it. It was just more questions about the calendar itself.
Yeah, no, we are the calendar, I think, isn't set in stone. It's just the start date and the end date that we are determining.
Correct.
Any more discussion? All righty then. Roll call vote. Mary Branley,
Yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Natasha Rivera,
Yes.
Lydia Clancy. Yes. Okay. School year calendar has been approved.
Well, start and end date has been approved, right?
Yes, the start and end date has been approved. And next we
Just on,
need,
I was gonna say on a side note, the 20th being Juneteenth, the fact that it's now an actual holiday,
Mhm.
a really great thing. Just wanted
Yeah.
to say that. So, which is on our calendar.
Now we need to approve the 14 contractual holiday dates. And this is for 12-month employees. So the draft would be, the days off, the 14 days would be July 5th, September 3rd, which is Friday before Labor Day weekend, then Monday, Labor Day, October 11th, Indigenous Peoples' Day, then November 11th, Veterans Day, day before Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving Day, and day after Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, President's Day, Patriots Day, Memorial Day, and Juneteenth Independence Day. So I will accept a motion.
You did that. I'll
I
second.
did a motion.
Yeah, you did it.
No, that wasn't the motion. I was just, oh, did I do a motion? Okay, we'll call it a motion. Give me a second.
No.
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion?
Well, the only discussion I had again was about the calendar format. So I don't know if
What do you mean calendar format?
from what was the draft that was presented to us. So I don't know if we're
Are you
8B.
talking about this one?
8B, yeah.
That that's not part of the discussion tonight. It was just the first date, the beginning date, and the end date.
Okay, so it's in our information about review for draft calendar for 8B. So that's where I was wanting to clarify.
I am confused. What I don't understand what you I don't understand what your question is.
It's in our documents for 8B.
Okay.
B or 8C?
8B draft 2021-2022 calendar.
The holidays are listed on the left side is what you're saying, right, Natasha?
Right, so that's where I was, if we're, the first, it says on the top thing, school year calendar is one of the things in the commentary, 8B and C that we were discussing, and then the other thing was the holidays. So, so I had, Colleen's raising her hand, so I don't know.
Yeah, Colleen, can you please, because I don't understand.
So that was just my wording. The 8B was actually not the calendar as a whole with professional days and early release days, rather the first and last day of school.
Okay, so we're not actually voting on the calendar tonight.
The vote was only for the start and end of dates of school.
Okay. So is that, are you clear? Are we all settled with that?
Well, I had feedback about the calendar. So again, that's what I'm trying to get at. If this is
Okay,
what
but
we're
not-
anticipating.
Yeah, but that's not the agenda item, is the calendar. That would be another time. We're not discussing the calendar.
Okay.
What we are doing is we are approving the 14 days, 14 contractual holidays for 12-month employees. So we have a motion on the table and a second. Do you have any questions about that, Natasha?
About the holidays?
Yeah.
No, not the holidays that were mentioned.
Okay. So I'm going to take a roll call vote. Mary Branley,
Yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Natasha Rivera,
Yes.
Lydia Clancy. Yes. Okay. Those are approved. Now, on to policy, and we have got a lot of them. And it's first reading. So I'm gonna get ready to take a lot of notes because I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of feedback. Let's start with JIC, student discipline. I know Natasha had a lot of feedback on this one. In fact, policy itself is so long, I didn't even get through the feedback. So let me pull it out. All right. Let's start with Mary. I probably don't need to get feedback from you because you're part of the subcommittee. Okay, Jessica, do you have notes or anything, feedback that you want to give for
I'm just opening up to see. I did not have I'm just sorry, scrolling through on this one. I may, after hearing some of Natasha's feedback and explanations for what she has, I may have some additional thought. She may provoke something, but as of right now, I don't have any.
Okay. I'm trying to find my copy of Natasha's that has the comments on it. Or Natasha, do you want to just go through and?
Yeah, I saved it to our folder, just for reference, if that's easier, for everyone.
I like paper, but I can look at it on.
Yeah, so it's, yeah, I'm sorry. So it's JIC. And what I did was, because it looked like this was kind of the out of the box from mask and for most of it. It was interesting to me that there was not any reference to special education, or because I know that there are a lot of laws specific to that particular population, or even in the citing, IDEA wasn't noted. And so when I did look around at different districts to see, how they may or may not have incorporated it. And I did find information that other districts have in some, and it was all kind of across the board. So some just accepted the mask, off the shelf kind of one. I did find that Framingham, Neshoba, there's a couple of districts that had included information on there about intervention. And so I can go over, so after the first paragraph, this was feedback that was about, it is expected of the school committee that all members of the school community are treated with kind. And again, I didn't take anything out that you had already there. So there might be some redundancy. I just didn't want to pull out anything that you had included, but that part about courtesy, kindness, respect for, is the goal, policy to encourage reflection of one's actions, and problem solving. So again, some of that under that first section, they had intervention, some language there that I thought was helpful. A student becoming distracted, less engaged, educators must intervene by using strategies that vary by developmental and cognitive level of the students involved. I thought that was important to include. And then generally going down under general principles, this is information that was pulled from Framingham's policy that I thought really kind of just called out some pieces a little bit more about effective, I don't know, just things that I think that will really speak to what we're trying to achieve here. So school discipline, and Lydia, I shared this with you. I know it was a lot, but so I don't know if you want to just take it back, and if any members, if you want me to read it all, I don't know.
No. What I'm thinking, because there's so much here to digest, that maybe since you've made it available to everyone, Jessica and Mary and I can read it offline, and then Jessica, if you wanted to provide any additional comments before our meeting on next Tuesday, then Mary and I can look through those
Okay, yeah, so the top, it looks like the top 2 pages are really where I kind of added some things there,
Yeah.
which you'll be able to see. And then towards the bottom, Lexington had a passage that actually spoke about discipline with students and special needs and spoke about the IDA a little bit more.
Yeah.
And Linfield also had some language that I thought was really helpful to use under the reporting part too, which I wanted to call out. There was an extra sentence that was added after that first paragraph where it talks about access to education and such other information may be required about the reporting to DESE. Framingham had the report will be given to I said Framingham School Committee, but no later than a date the following academic year. And I think what I would intend for that to be is one as just a data point that we can see how, because the what is being reported is about the different groups that are being, disciplined and all the social, and the breakdown. And so I'd like us to be able to see there are patterns that we maybe need to address, whether it's funding for certain grades, we see trends there. And also just to ensure that reporting is happening as it should be on a regular basis.
Okay.
So nothing that maybe we would get into deep about, but maybe the superintendent would be, sharing with the school committee at some point annually.
Okay. Yep. All right, so we'll set this one aside. And definitely there's a lot to unpack here. So, and you're good with that, Jessica?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Okay. So thank you, Natasha. Next, let's go to, let's see. I had 2 different lists and they don't mirror each other. Okay, let's go to JJ, which would replace 562, co-curricular and extracurricular activities.
I'll make a motion that we accept JJ co-curricular and extracurricular activities just for the sake of discussion.
Are these just first readings though? Aren't these just first readings?
Yeah, but she said for the sake of discussion. So
Okay.
Discussion, just so that we can talk, yeah.
do I have a second?
And we can vote on it if everybody's good with it.
So the first part comes from mask, and the second, the part that's highlighted in orange, we took from 562. Yes, Jennifer.
Just a Madam Chair, a point of order. You have a motion on the table and you need to have a second for it.
Yeah, thank you. I know nobody's seconding it. So what happens if nobody seconds it?
I will second it. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's discuss it.
And it looked like Natasha had a comment about it. That's sort of why I thought we were going to talk about it.
Yeah, Natasha, do you have a comment? This has been through Brian Bolu and or Bulow. God, I wish I could say his name right. Brian B. And Jeff has also looked at it. And I think Jen looked at it. Jen?
Is this JJ or JJIB? JJ, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I have a question on it.
Yes.
At the bottom there where it says kids who go to charter schools or whatnot can't participate in activities, do we want to make a note that if you're placed out of district, you can? Because I remember that being an important piece of helping to bring kids back into district was allowing them to maintain sports and activities in the public school. And I thought that they have to be allowed.
Wait, I'm confused. If they're placed out of district?
Yeah, like not by choice, so not going to private school or charter
Yeah,
school.
no, that's allowed and that's in other policies. That's
Okay, all right.
this
Just wanted to
is
make sure.
specific charter. You choose to leave, you charter.
Yeah. Okay, all right. But there is something else that says,
Yes.
okay, all right. Thank you.
Good question.
Anything else?
Are you gonna, I don't know if you're gonna go
Oh, sorry,
around to everyone.
Natasha?
So the feedback that I had was just about maybe adding. There was language in Framingham's policy about about academic standards, attendance, and inclusion. And I don't know if that's something that we would want to expand on, and I can pull it up a little bit to.
So that would be expanded upon in the handbooks. Because it's different for different schools. So like it's different at Fowler than it is for the high school. So that would be up to the principals to determine and make sure it's in the handbooks.
Okay, so the attendance piece was more about like discipline, if you have certain disciplines about, engaging there. I don't know why we want that to be different from building to building. Why would that not want to be consistent as a district-wide policy?
Brian, can you speak to that? We had this conversation, but I don't remember verbatim what was said. Or Mary, do you remember?
No, so it talks about a little bit more at the next one we're going to do, JJIB, that it talks about the recommendations, regulations and recommendations of MIAA. So.
Okay, so if there's, and I guess the other part for the attendance is about just like how much they're present for the day. And that was something that since the students with extenuating circumstances who will be absent for more than half the day may request approval. But it just kind of had more of a general district-wide application of that standard and not building to building. I don't know if there's a reason why it would be better to building or not.
So I think this is more of a high level policy about it in general. And then within the handbooks, it becomes more procedural.
It gets more procedural. What do you mean about?
Within the handbook. So the high school will say, I don't have the handbooks in front of me, but it's the specifics of attendance and it's in alignment with what DESE has to say. But it may be different at the middle school if it's not a varsity team. So there's different rules if it's a varsity team as opposed to a club or an activity.
Okay. And the only other thing that I thought was that they talked about the inclusion piece about in reference to students who might need for IEPs or 504s and participating in, being again, allowing accommodations. But the way that they worded it in Framingham was a little bit better than what I'm going to do. But it's in reference to students participating in extracurricular academics, performance exceptions may be made if it's felt that the participation is a therapeutic activity and is approved by the superintendent of schools or his designee. So anyway, I just thought that would be something that we might consider incorporating in subcapacity.
And that's on the thing that you, that's on this one, right? This document that.
It's on, well, I didn't put it verbatim, but I put a link to the Framingham districts, which has the language there.
Yeah. So we can take a look at that for our meeting on Tuesday.
Okay.
We can also add in the original 562, it said students must have a satisfactory academic standing in order to participate in said activities. Criteria for participation will be set forth in student handbooks. So that ties it into the handbooks.
Yeah, that's what I just want, some academic component. I mean, obviously, if somebody is, we're just talking about discipline, if someone has some egregious disciplinary issues, I think there might need to be a review about what are we comfortable with allowing or not allowing for them to do and representing us off-site potentially.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may have a point.
Yes, please.
Given the feedback, you may want to consider tabling this motion.
Oh yeah, let's table the motion.
Can Mary would just withdraw it? I think withdraw the motion since.
Yep, I can do that. I'll withdraw
Either one.
co-curricular, extracurricular activities.
Yeah, because it will have to be edited anyway, potentially, so it wouldn't be the same.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay, tabled again. So we will look into that. And discuss it next Tuesday. All right, next we have JJIB, Interscholastic Athletics. Jessica, do you have any questions or comments on this?
I did not on this one.
Okay. Natasha?
I had one comment at the intro section where it starts off as students will be allowed to participate based on their abilities. If I don't know if their thought would be subject to funding at the middle and high school level. Add that intro part there that I put on my feedback.
Okay, so before the school committee believes that students will benefit, or between the first paragraph and the second paragraph?
Hold on, let me go back to the actual document because I just got off of it. So the sentence that starts off, students will be allowed to
Okay,
participate
so,
in.
all right, so third paragraph, at the high school level, interscholastic athletic competition will include a variety of sports. Subject to funding at the middle and high school level, interscholastic athletic competition will include a variety of sports.
Yeah,
Okay, students will be allowed to participate, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so we'll take that under advisement and look at that.
oh, and then the other thought was about the unified program. I don't know, I know that's something new in their district.
Okay,
And I don't know if what the rules are about that.
I don't either.
If that's something that we would want to add or not, or what consideration, because that's outside of MIAA, right?
I don't know.
So I don't know if
We can ask
Brian.
Brian. Yeah. Do. Okay. So we'll take that under advisement and move on to, is everyone good with moving on?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Next one we have is JK, student conduct. So Natasha, I know that you said JIC seems redundant. It's there just as a safety net, I think, because JIC, I can't remember. I'm not sure how they differ. I just know that conduct and discipline, like one is setting the expectation and the other is how we deal when expectations aren't met.
I just know I only came about this after after I had done the first kind of look at the details. When I was looking for the other one, I noticed a lot of districts had they named that one conduct. So they're like interchangeable in how other places were using them. And then some districts had just combined them. And so again, I didn't have any strong preference for it. It just seemed like some of the things were redundant. And if we are outlining a conduct component in the disciplinary one, I just want to make sure we're not missing, there's not too much overlap where if we update one, we have to reflect it similarly in the other.
Okay.
So again, if we can capture it in one, I don't know. But if it needs to be separate, then it just wasn't clear to me the total distinction for each.
Okay. Yeah, we can look at that. I can also ask Mask.
Because there were some conduct elements in the disciplinary one.
Yep, there were. Okay. Jessica, do you have Any
No, I didn't have,
questions or
no,
comments?
not on this one.
Okay,
If anything, JK seems to be more specific. It looks like JIC is more general and JK is more specific. So, I don't know. They both came from Mass, so it seems like they're
Mhm.
both, but anyway, yeah. Okay, so we'll bring that back also.
Yeah, and the other thing was about other comment, I'm sorry, feedback was about behavior conduct on bus and stuff. I know we've had some recent policies that we've done, and
Mhm.
do we want to cite, that if we're talking about student conduct on the bus and other things?
So it
Um,
talks about it on the student handbooks again. That was the piece that was added here. And that's where that kind of language, it talks specifics at grade levels and that for the buses and that. So I think that.
and Jay, the student conduct on buses is cross-referenced, I think, with, I'd have to look it up, but it is.
I just thought maybe we could cross-reference it here,
Mhm.
because that was just newly approved.
Okay. So we have, our 20 minutes is up. Do people want to continue this discussion? Or would you like to move on?
The only other one I had a lot of feedback on was just homework.
Okay,
I don't know if anyone,
so
wanna
are we done with student conduct? Mary?
Yep.
Jessica?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, we could table them. It's up, either way, whatever you prefer.
Well, we have the feedback, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not as extensive as the discipline one, but it was just more, well, let me know. I mean, I can take a minute to just say it, and then if it sparks any thought for anyone else. I don't know if everyone has had a chance to read it, if Jessica has had a chance to read it.
The next policy or your feedback?
My feedback.
I had a chance. I was trying to focus on the
Yeah.
discipline one, and I went down the rabbit hole of clicking on all those links. So I haven't had a chance to read all of it.
Okay, since it is 8:45 and we still have to get through members' comments and an executive session, I'd say that we table the rest of them. And we did what, half, I think. So we have a significant amount to go through at the next subcom meeting. So if there's no objections, we're going to move on.
No objection.
All right, excellent. So now subcommittee reports and members' comments. Starting with Jessica.
So we had sorry, let me grab my notes from it. I keep saying curriculum, but what are we calling it now?
Strategic
Planning. Thank
Yep.
you. We had a strategic planning subcommittee meeting. What I'm trying to find my notes on. We touched base on the finalized overall district strategic plan, which looks great and has been gone through all the leadership, principals, and everyone have agreed to that. So we talked about sharing that with the rest of the school committee sooner rather than later, so you can all get eyes on it too. Sorry, I clearly take a lot of notes. I'm trying to jog my memory of what else we talked about. And we talked about the data equity walk. That's what else we talked about, how we might be able to make that work, because obviously it's going to be challenging to do remote. So we had some kind of outside of the box ideas that we are going to try and mull over about, maybe possibly being able to sign up for slots to do a portion in person for people following all safety COVID protocols and then a Zoom follow-up or something along those lines, but where we know how important that is and how great the feedback was on it and useful it was to help to come up with some plans for some of the previous data that we uncovered. So that was discussed as well. And I think that was it, right? Am I missing anything? Jennifer and Brian? No, okay, yeah. And then we also had a CPAC collaboration meeting, which was great. We touched base on a lot of different things. Snow days, literacy, all different things that were great to discuss and talk about. And our conversation is continuing on all of those. So.
Awesome. Okay. And that's it? You're good?
Good.
Nice. All right, Natasha.
The budget subcommittee, we met on the 13th, and the town budget subcommittee also met that same day, that evening. Wayne and Brian and you were obviously in attendance, and it was really very robust discussions. I think obviously, well, needed. We clearly are advocating for a number, and so we're not quite there. And so I think that it is something that's ongoing. I know, Brian, you had shared some questions were given to you, and you were able to share and connect with Greg a little bit more. And so anyway, so that's kind of ongoing. We conversation about an override came up. There is varying positions right now on how to proceed. And I think it was more of, do we just allow the town to vote? Or there's some people who thought that maybe it shouldn't even be recommended and brought to town as an opportunity. So I think that's where we have to kind of come together as, leaders of the town and decide on a unified message on what we would present and give information forward. We do have our next town budget subcommittee is the 10th of February. So it'll be before the joint budget review that Friday. And so I think, Mary, the idea was that we would kind of get more of because it's going to be the first virtual viewing of what the report might be. So Greg will kind of give us a little bit of a flavor on what he might be sharing that Saturday, because we're not going to have books to pass out and, reading materials like we have historically done. And also the conversation will be difficult to have remotely, given the format. So that was where we left off with that. We do have our budget subcommittee next week on Wednesday, and that's for the school, and just ongoing discussions there. Things are evolving, funding, COVID, a lot of transition, a lot of unknowns, not a lot of things you can really bank on right now and build a budget on necessarily per se, which is the difficult part there. And I think one of the things for me, which was a takeaway from that, is that, and I did share this separately offline with some members of the Board of Selectmen, but I think there was a perception that the schools advocate for, the loftiest thing, and maybe you're not grounded in the town's need. And I challenge that point, because that's not true. We're all taxpayers. We pay, the money as well. And so I think we also take into consideration on what the impact will be for taxpayers' dollars down the road. And so when we are conveying the needs of building our literacy programs or supporting kids that we can do in district, it is just to that point, because we spend less money now doing it versus our legal obligations to service them when they potentially leave district or go out of district for whatever reason. So that was a message I try to convey. I think we need to maybe hone that in a little bit more. No matter what, we sometimes are paying for things either now or later. And so kicking the can down, the road doesn't suit us well. And I think hopefully we're learning from history that we need to be a little bit better at building our educational infrastructure, as well as all the other infrastructures around town that are, being worked on. And that's really it. We had the CPAC collaboration meeting. We set one, I forget the date, but there's another one next month. And that's all I got in negotiations. That's ongoing.
All right, thank you. Mary?
Just
Oh, and can I just say, Mary, thank you for making that point at the town budget subcommittee meeting about letting the voters decide, because I don't even understand why that's a question, but thank you for saying that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think just following up on what Natasha said too, is because I said the same thing, is, not only are we educating our children, but we are, if we do the things that we're talking about, we ultimately are we're doing the best we can for our kids, but we're also saving money for the town. So we are absolutely always looking out for the town as a whole. So, but now on to mine. So Brian's letting me do the fun stuff tonight. So I wanted to, I don't know if you guys have all had the opportunity to check out the National Honor Society induction. I'll tell you, COVID is not all bad. It's a lot bad, but it gives people the opportunity to see things that they wouldn't otherwise. And if everybody has an opportunity to check out the National Honor Society induction, it was a very cool presentation. Emily Paliki and Sandy LeBlanc, they're the ones that orchestrated every year. The kids did an amazing job, but I just wanted to give a shout out to the inductees. Emily Bakalos, Olivia Bakalos, Samantha Bakalos, they're triplets, Alyssa Baraloni, Grace Sharon, Caroline Gallo, Gracie Gilligan, Molly Hines, Ari Kariki, Kate Rober, Grace Wild, and then the 3 current members, because we were running last year, we didn't have quite as many. Talia Colagero, Steve's child, Allison Gangloff, and Ethan Mullen. And they had, the speaker was Dan Kella Fadis, who was a 1992 graduate. And his presentation was amazing. I have sent it to a number of my friends that have kids that are sort of in that 8th, 9th grade range. It's like, why are we doing this kind of thing? And he was amazing. So again, you know, if you have an opportunity. Also wanted to do a shout out to the 2021 CDMMEA Senior District Music Festival, because a number of our students auditioned and were accepted to it. Congratulations to Gracie Gilligan, Ariane Maroy, I'm going to mess it up, Phoebe Cook Ludwig, Lauren Alford, Elizabeth Freeman, Alvaro Gonzalez Orellana, Ari, notice how there's the overlap here, Ari Kilriki, Lily Weber, Georgia Wilson, and Adam Lucas. So another shout out to them. Just a couple of great things going on at the high school. So that was that. And then we did have the wellness meeting this morning that I won't go on about. Jeff was there, I was there. We're still awake. Charles was there, and we're still awake anyway. And one of the great things going on at the middle and the elementary school is the winter walk on February 4th. So that's a great thing. Also, I just had a question, because I think, were we going to try and get a student rep? You know, the stuff that went on at the high school made me think that normally we would have a student rep that would actually be talking about these things.
Mm-hmm.
Late in the year to have one.
I don't know. I mean, I've reached out to Chuck and Kevin a few times, and they said that, you know, that it
just too much.
Yeah, they haven't organized it, or the kids were working on, or I mean, I've talked to them probably on 3 separate occasions, and
aren't we required to have one? I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, it's not like we're not allowing them to. It's just they haven't provided one. So, and maybe nobody wants to do it. I don't know. Or maybe they've heard so many bad things about us and how late our meetings go. They're just like,
well, but we put them at the beginning of the agenda. Maybe one of the National Honor Society kids, because they're supposed to do 2 hours of community service a month. So maybe we could, you know, kind of encourage them that way. And the last thing, and Brian was going to talk about it, and then it got was getting too long. But anyway, Maynard Education Foundation. last year gave $13,000, this past school year gave $13,000 in grants to staff and students in that. And this year we're continuing, even though we're not able to have the taste, we've received some really good sponsorships that we're providing. Some of, Jen can talk about it, but we've provided some of the software that the teachers are using for the remote classes. So.
Mary, could the MEA or MEF
Make up $1 million?
yeah, could they? No. I mean, because you guys do auctions at the Taste too. So could you are you going to do an online auction?
We're talking about that. We're talking about having a restaurant week, kind of, in April and that. So there are a couple of things because we definitely want to sponsor the restaurants, also the eateries. So yeah, so we've got a couple of things that we're talking about. So
Cool.
all right. And we also did, we did a townwide fundraiser, just an annual appeal, and it brought in a lot of money, which was really great during the holidays. So that's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. And now we are going to adjourn to executive session. So I am going to thank everyone for being here with us tonight, and a roll call to enter into executive session. Jennifer, do I need to make a motion or have a second or anything like that? Nope. Okay, sweet. Mary Branley,
Yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Natasha Rivera,
Yes.
Lydia Clancy. Yes. Okay, Colleen. Oh, no.
Matter.
What's oh no?
I just got a message from my mom. I forgot my stepfather's birthday.
Oh dear. It's not too late. You still have a couple of hours.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
he's in bed. He's asleep.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Well, send him a note. Oh.
But he is in trouble.
know, Totally in trouble.
Did I get everybody?
We're good?
Does Wayne
I-
need to be in executive session, or can Wayne
If he
be,
wants to be.
Oh, you can go. You can leave if you want, Wayne.
Are we stopped
Thank you.
recording?
Thank you very much.
No.